Greetings, one and all. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Jamlish, real talk with a little bit of Labrish. So today we're talking about a topic which says, should schools distribute condoms? So on my panel today, I'm going to introduce Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Jamlish, real talk with a little bit of Labrish.
Barrydon.
Yes, Barrydon there, Jamlish there, the crew there, Labrish there, tuning in right here.
Simeon in the place to be. Welcome back to the chat.
Rosie there, sir, and Jamlish, so you can tune into it over there, sir. Big up on yourself.
And I'm Mimi. Welcome to Jamlish, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you, panel. So yes, as I said, the topic today is going to be around condoms being distributed in schools. We've seen a recent outbreak whereby children have been going onto forums and advising of, incidents of sexual issues that they've had in schools and being, other issues in terms of being touched and things like that. So it's bringing a wider debate about what's happening in schools and the education system, and especially what we're looking at today is, as I say, condoms being distributed in schools. So I was just doing a bit of research beforehand just to check some information. And back in 1999, the government announced, a 10-year teenage pregnancy strategy for England because, the UK, it was seen that at a high rate of pregnancy of children under 18. But by the end of that period, once it's finished, it's saying that contraception for women aged under 18 years have decreased by 62.7%. So really, why should the schools be distributing condoms to children in schools? What's your opinion of that, Barry?
My opinion is, I don't think it's up to the school to be distributing condoms to I would say boys. I think it's to be discussed with the parents, and the parents should be the one if they think they needed condom, because giving a kid condom, giving a boy condom is like, oh, it's like license to go out there and do the thing. So
it doesn't have to be boys, it could be girls as well.
Well, it could be too. It could be too, yeah.
You don't think it's a responsibility looking forward that, if the UK had a high pregnancy rate of children under 18, that it's a good sign that they should be distributed in schools?
Well, like I said, like the parents could have the teacher could have parents meeting, discuss it with the parents, and then give it to the parents to distribute to the kids, instead of they distributing it to the kids. I mean, when a boy, or say when a child go out there to do their thing, they don't necessarily have to use the condom, even though they got it.
Yeah.
So.
Can I say something? I think I'm very 50-50 on this. Obviously, I'm a parent myself of two boys. So for me, I'm very 50-50.
What age are they? Do you mind saying, Mimi, the age of your boys?
120, 13.
Okay,
so for me, yes, there's high pregnancy in teenagers, and there's loads of reasons for that. And obviously, contraception does play a role, as we all understand how to prevent from having children. There are ways. For me, I'm very 50-50. I don't not say I don't want the school to be offering my child condoms, but I do want them to be having a discussion with me. And the reason why I say I'm not shying away from it is because we've got Umbrella, which is a clinic. It supports, you know, you can get tested there. You go there for contraception, and you can have conversations about sex and, you know, pregnancy and problems that you might be having. So that these places are open to our children, if that makes sense. So what's the difference if they gave it to them or the school gave it to them? Because when they go to the Umbrella, they're not going to disclose things to us about our children. This is someone that does actually know our children. So for me, I'm not, remember, our children go there Monday to Friday, they're there for 6 hours. So they have a rapport with the children, and certain things the children will say to them that they wouldn't come home and say to us for certain reasons that we're not going to approve, etc., etc. But if you said to me, if my child's having conversations about sex and they've come to an age, say 15 at least, I'd like to think, because, you know, 16 is a legal age, you know, I'd like to think, well, or then if you talk about condoms and you talk about it to me, then go to your school and get one, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I'm approving of it, but if I'm having that dialogue with my child and my child's talking to me, then yeah, but would I be happy if my child just came home and go, no, mum, look what I've got? Nah, I'm not going to be happy about that at all. So I think it's
you want a discussion.
It's
so
how
what are you going to say there, Michelle?
Well, what I was going to say is part of the curriculum, isn't sex education on as part of this curriculum? And as part of this school curriculum and a part of sex education, don't they teach you how to use condoms? Certainly, I remember when I was at school, I mean, we just saw it as a long-standing joke and we laughed about it and stuff, you know, but, you know, we were taught how to put a condom on, obviously not with the child, but, you know, they had an object there. We were taught those things. We were taught about the contraceptive pill. We were taught about the STIs, etc. So as part of the curriculum, you know, giving a child a condom doesn't necessarily mean that you're encouraging them to have sex, but you're showing them
how to protect yourself.
How to protect yourself. And why the wider point of using it as part of sexual education to prevent unwanted pregnancies. So
that's right.
What do you think, Simeon? Do you think it's a good thing to have them being distributed in schools, condoms?
Well, we do a little study myself, and sex education in school always stirred debate. But see, when I mention the condom thing now, that sparked off a lot of things, you know, because I do believe what you say already, whereas the parents have to be involved. The parents have to be involved. And a problem with read a little joke the other day. One little boy, 14 years old, right? And him go up on a school program. And I'm teaching about how to prevent pregnancy and, you know, STDs and all that. And but I noticed them never teaching something, because when he come out at the lesson and his mother go for 7 lessons him take after school, and his mother go for pick him up. And when she look, she see the boy with a condom in her hand.
Yeah.
And she go, whoa. And you into your mother. Him say, mommy, throw this in your glove compartment, just in case you might need it. So you see, so them take it as, you know what I mean? They're not seeing it as us adults. I'm seeing it as, you know what I mean? Sex is something that you're supposed to in privacy, man. You know what I mean? Them not see it as such. Trust me,
it should be the whole bigger picture. They should be
of course, and that should be part of school curriculum again in terms of personal development and personal effectiveness and communication skills and interpersonal skills and how you relate to each other. All those come in play, and that shapes you, the person that you're going to be as you get older.
Yeah, I'm saying I partially agree with you guys as well that yes, this should be discussed with parents beforehand. I have 2 boys myself, 2 boys, 1 girl.
You mind saying the age, Rosie? You mind saying the age?
Why you always one age? Put on friend.
Does it have an impact on what maybe?
They're adults now. My first one is 32 and the other one is 27.
They've been through the mill. They've been through it.
They're adults. Yeah, but I usually teach them about sex. And I remember there was an adult, a family member, and she was mad with me saying, how can you teach your boys about sex? I said, but yes, why not? I want to look in there
Go
before
on,
their
man.
friends.
Go on. Yeah.
Because if their friends tell them about the sex first, they might get the wrong concept of sex.
No,
And I said to that lady, sex doesn't bring just baby, it can bring death. There's so much sexual transmitted diseases out there, and we have to let them know about that. And I have to let them know that women is not a piece of meat, that you can change one like you change your clothes. So yeah, I would love teachers to discuss it with me before I see my children come home with condoms.
Well, that goes on to my second question, really, because I was going to say, whose responsibility is it to discuss sexual education?
My responsibility.
Yeah, but what we need to understand, right? Not all parents, you don't, I say this all the time. I think it's because of working in education myself. You don't always get parents that are supportive or do have those tools, or, you know, are even there. You know, you have children that are in care. You've got children that, you know, that might have learning difficulties or learning disabilities. And, you know, trying to teach them sex isn't always an easy, it's not always going to be as easy as, you know, as easy as, you know, whatever it may be, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember my daughter coming home and my son saying, oh, they're teaching us sex education at school. I mean, they were barely out of their nappies. They're doing what?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, you know. They were literally, my daughter came home.
Should it be taught?
She wasn't even in secondary school, and she was taught, and I thought, well, hang on, you know, what's happened to the innocence in children? Why are you taking away the innocence?
I mean, that's where they go wrong. I think it's not the sex. I think we need to be talking about relationships.
Relationships, I agree with you.
We need to be talking about family units. I think that is the beginning of it, if that makes sense. And they miss that. They talk about the core of it, because really, sex isn't the end of everything. The relationship, how you communicate with someone, how you mold and work together, and grow your kids. That's key. Do you know what I mean? This sex.
Yes, you see him time too.
More your responsibility, Mimi, as an adult to your sons, that you should be having that discussion first.
I believe that, as I say that expression, it takes a community to raise a child. So the school do play a part. Remember, they go to school quite a quick.
They spend a lot of time there.
So I would never shy away and say, no, the school don't play a part, but I play a part. I am responsible for my children. You know, I owe them that information to give them the future to make better decisions. If they're not informed, well, how can they? And then I'm waiting for the school to educate my child or their friends. No. I as a parent play a part too.
Oh yeah, but I can tell you this. Some teachers, they're like really shy to deliver that part of the sexual education, because sometimes they're like, oh, where do I start? I'm like, oh, just do what you know, you know. Don't over pressure yourself, but just give them the basic, and then you gradually build up yourself. So I'm thinking along the teacher's point of view as well. It's in their curriculum, so they have to deliver it. However they do it, it's, you know.
Well, you think that they'll be trained to do it, and hopefully they should do it in a way that, you know, they can give advice.
But you've got people, specialists, as Mimi says, you know, it takes a whole community to raise a child. I mean, where's the school nurses? They should have school nurses and people who are specialists in that area. Huh?
Do they still exist, school nurses?
I don't know, but you know, certainly when I was at school.
They do.
What do you think, then, Simeon? Should it be the responsibility of the school, or of the yourself as a parent stroke adult?
Hey, Virgin, I was gonna say, with medical studies, because these are interesting subject, you know what I mean, very deep. And it just says that 64% of preteens ages 13 to 24 actively search for porn online weekly.
Yes.
And it's easily accessible.
It's so, it's on their little phones. It's so easy to, so we have to deal with the reality. We have to deal with the reality.
Yes.
You know, we have to deal with it. I do believe that the parents' involvement supposed to, hey, parents, if they can, as Mish says, there's cases where them, I guess, them call But them need to know, as Mimi said too, and I said, the relationship, they need to know all of it. Them can't just know, you know what I mean? They're experimenting.
Yeah.
It's the internet which plays a major part, as you say, and children having access to computers,
Magazines,
tablets, etc., and allowing your children to have those, you know, technology. They'll make their own peer group, peer pressure, and things like that.
I have to say, I disagree a little because it was always there. You know, young boys used to buy dirty magazines or magazines at the top of the. Do you know what I mean? It's just in a different form.
They could reach
a different way now. Time has moved on, you see.
I don't know what.
Right on top shelf, you know. Them put it on top shelf for purpose.
Yeah, but they get access to it. Their access to it. You know what I mean? Right. So sex isn't just. It's not something that's just happening recently with kids in school. You know what I mean? It's something that has been going on even when I was in school in the 70s. Do you know what I mean? You're like, sometimes you're in the playground and then you know, magazine would be on the floor and everything's there. And you think, oh my God, where's that come from? That sort of thing. That has always been there. And certainly back in my days, it wasn't something you can go home and discuss with your parents, trust me. Right? You know what I mean?
The older generation didn't really talk about sex, I would have said, or, you know, our generation as such.
So it's a generational thing as well. So I take Rosie's point in terms of the embarrassment of having to talk to children about that, particularly if you're not used to talking to kids around, you know, about sex. You know, it can be quite embarrassing, you know, so, you know, but it's not, it's something that's always been there.
When I was going to school, my sex education is when I sit down with my friend them, my schoolmate them, and them I tell me and me I tell them, even though I don't have the experience, but them I tell me how the sex thing go. You know, maybe a year older than me or could be my same age, but they advance more than me. You know, and then I tell me how the sex thing go. That when I get my first condom, it was like a souvenir. I didn't want to use it. I just wanted to
fill it up with water.
I sure purchased it too. And when I do not
what size was it, sir?
It's 4 feet in one large.
So that don't mean because them got it, them are gonna use it.
Exactly.
And remember too, in every mass production of everything, there can be some well, I say faulty ones in it. And how you know which one is faulty from which one is not. The school could give 3 or 4, say 12 people some, and one of them they get the faulty batch. 1 or 2 of them get the faulty batch. Yeah, but they use it and it broke open when they using it.
Responsibility then,
And who will take up that responsibility? Who is responsible for that? The school or me as a parent?
Yeah. But it says here, having condoms in schools helps prevent pregnancy and STDs, and it causes less stress with the children, you know, trying to get condoms, etc., and going to places where they don't feel comfortable going to get a condom instead of where it's available in the school itself. What do you think about that, Rosie? If it's available in the school, it causes less stress to the children itself.
You see, the children, they're very smart, you know, because they'll pick an adult who they're comfortable with to talk about stuff. So if they feel the need for that, they'll call you one side and they'll tell you. And I feel like I'm not kicking it. I'm not against giving out condom in schools. If it helps them to stop getting diseases or
pregnancies.
So much, I really don't mind. You know, until they're actually responsible and can support children, children, or the boyfriends and children. I really don't mind.
So do you think maybe it could have an impact on your relationship on your child if they came home with a condom? Would you rather them have that conversation with you first, or if they got it directly from the school? How would you feel about that?
Let's say for my son, my oldest one, because he's 20, obviously he's done school, so he's at that age. But if he'd come home and let's say I found his condom for whatever reason on the floor in his bedroom, and I have no conversation or even an inkling that he's interested in girls or there's something going on, that's a shock for me. That's a shock. So that's already going to initiate a conversation directly with my son. And then obviously when he says to me he's got it from the school, I'm going to be like going to the school to find out what your process is, like how has this come about and how have you not liaised with me to say to me, wow, you know, your son's back, come here and he's asking for this. And that's why I say it takes community, because what I mean by that is they've given it him, okay, cool, but liaise with me, let me know that, even let me know
they're
that
supposed to. They're supposed to, and they do.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
They're supposed to write to you first. You know, let you know.
Just knowing, I don't know about which school specifically and how they do. What I'm saying is, if I send my child to the school around the corner, for instance, and they say to me, on this school we specialise in sex education, we've got a clinic here every Tuesday. It's in my head already. It's locked. So if I see with the condom, all right, I need to have a conversation still, regardless, because now my child is at that stage where he's interested in girls, he wants to go out there and he wants to be what's the word, sexual.
But every school has a sexual education curriculum. It's part of the curriculum. And they will tell you what is actually going to take place throughout that year.
And
so you're supposed to know that anyway.
If we were going to send a child home with condom, whatever the case is, we usually call the parents. But if we know the parents does not read email very often, we call them first.
You call them into the school or just have a conversation with them?
Call them on the phone and have a conversation with them first before we actually send the kids home with stuff like that.
That's all I'm asking for, that bit of respect to say, he's my child. Yeah, my child might come to you for some advice, but he's my child and I just need to know where his head's at, and so that I can support him and obviously talk to him about, well, we've got plans because you've got a condom, and he might not have plans, like Barry says, like some of them are just, it's a toy, if that makes sense. It's a souvenir.
You fill it up with water. We used to use
what do you feel about it, Michelle? You know, if your child came home with a condom, and would you like, you know, do you want more responsibility to have that conversation with your child?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I would, and I do, and I did. Do you know what I mean? You know, I think it is important that you communicate, you know, with your child.
Definitely.
If I saw a condom in his room or whatever, I'll say, oh, what's that? And what's that for? And then try and generate a conversation.
Yeah.
It wouldn't just, you know, that my instinct would be, oh, what you doing condom? What weird, you know? That would be my instinct. That would that's true.
If you're shy to talk to you about it, you must say, I know for me, I'm a brethren,
exactly.
Drop it and pick it up, me I go give it to him tomorrow. And next
exactly,
thing
and I take your point.
I take your point, Barrydon. There isn't, the parent isn't always around to deliver and give out that information to the child. And
You're
people
right.
do rely upon friends, uncles, aunties, somebody that is more comfortable that they can talk to, or the parents might not be around full stop, or that lack of parental support might be there and that role model isn't there. So, you know, it's not just about, right, yes, this is what I expect the school to do and this is what I expect. Do you know what I mean? It's a whole community. We educate each other, don't we, throughout life? You know, things that I've learned hasn't just been through learning at school. I've developed my learning through other people as well. So
what you pick up in life, as you say, through other people who you integrate with, who you work with, who you socialize with, things like that. So Simeon, do you think it could be a positive or negative for children to have them in the long run? Should schools have them ultimately, or is it more?
I don't see where negativity could affect that. It's gotta be positive, because I mean, if it does, as Barrydon said, I mean, is, you know, the chances are if them are going to go without, then we go without. You know what I mean? Sometimes they might even have a condom and then left it tired and they want it now. They're not going to say, no, sure, I haven't got my condom, let me go get the type of thing. You know what I mean? They still are going to do what they're doing. So
adults do it, right? It's not just children. Adults behave like that as well.
We're dealing with children today. Well, adults will talk about another stage.
Just making a point.
Yeah, so it's a positive. Family can prevent teenage pregnancies and such the lives. You know what I mean? One has to see it as but I still believe that the parent, if they can, like as a parent,
Yeah.
You know,
First port
me
of
don't want
call
to
is
see,
you as the
hey,
parents. Yeah.
my son I come, I mean, I know, I'm supposed to know, man. Why you never inform me? I'm that type of parent that, you know, wants some involvement in his growing up. I want to know what's happening.
Yeah.
If he's bad at school,
Involved with
please
the
tell
stuff.
me, please. You know what I mean? So why you can't tell me, say, I'll go give him a condom?
Yeah, yeah.
I also believe that parents should have that relationship with their children,
Yeah.
where they can talk about stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't always happen,
Yes.
but we should have room. We should be flexible to listen to what our kids have to say. If they come up to you one day and asking you about sex, you're not gonna tell them sex is for an adult. Yes,
Mm.
it is, but you're gonna have to sit down and relate to this child.
Mm.
Yeah, show them the ins and out before you dismiss them.
That's it.
Maybe this generation will walk in the room to the parents and mention sex. But back in my days, you
No.
dare not
Couldn't do it.
walk
Yeah.
up to
Wouldn't even dream about it.
What? What you say?
And man, yeah,
I think
So,
a lot of
but
days.
So that's why I said
Yeah.
my sex education was out there with
Yeah.
my colleagues and all that.
But I truly believe in a Barrydon, say, to a certain degree, it's still the same. To a big degree, it's still the same. A
Well,
lot of
because
parents,
it's the
think so.
generation,
Yeah.
I think so.
yeah, a
Because
lot of
the
parents will
thing
sit
is,
down and
you know, my daughter can, well, no, my daughter found it difficult to come to me to tell me that she was pregnant. She was 18 when she got pregnant. I found out by pure accident, right? And it's not as if we don't talk about anything and everything. We talk about everything.
How did you
know?
feel when she told you?
But yet when she told, huh?
How did you feel when she told you and had that conversation, or you know, you say you found out by accident? Did you feel
Yeah,
hurt
but
that she didn't
I
come to you
was
first?
a little disappointed. I was like quite shocked at that because, you know, there we were getting her ready to go off to university and all of it. And I thought, well, why isn't she motivated to go, you know? And little did I know, but eventually I found that out, you know. But I didn't give her a hard time because, you know, pregnancy is you know, it's a delicate thing anyway, you know, and there's no point. It's happened, isn't it? It's once done, it's done. I was 28 when I had my first. I was shitting myself to tell my mom I was pregnant, and I was way down in my 20s. Trust me. And it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
You know, to me,
Yeah.
you know, it's not. And as you said, you're right, Simeon. You know, it happens now, even nowadays. It's
still no.
happening.
I think
And
that
it's what we've been passed on from one generation to the next, isn't it? You know, I guess.
I think it's like now the between adults and the children, it seems to be more like to be friends as opposed to a structure of being a parent and, you know, that responsibility that you have. And sometimes, as you say, people are passing their responsibility and may not be capable of making
but
those.
on the friends to a degree, Rich, I hear what you say, but on the friends to a degree, you know, mother, I mean, Mish was mother and daughter like friends to a certain degree, but yet she still could not tell her mom.
Yeah, you have to have boundaries and
Yeah.
expectations. You can be your child's best friend, but the expectations and the boundaries should set.
Yes.
It have to play, isn't it? It have to play.
Yeah, you know, you know what role you play as a parent, and you know what the child's role is. You know, that doesn't mean to say you can't communicate and you're not going to get on and all of that. You know, there are clear boundaries, but there's just some things. Her response was, I said to her, well, why didn't you tell me? She thought that she was letting me down. You know, so that was her fear. It wasn't the fact that she was pregnant. It was the fact that we were getting all excited, getting her off ready for university, and she was pregnant. And that what was her main concern, was telling us. You know, that was her worry, not so much the pregnancy. So, you know, the generation, it still goes on and on. Some people, some children, and she's, you know, believe it or not, she was quite a clingy, shy child, you know, but you know, it happens, isn't it? It happens. But you know, as parents, as adults, we have to communicate with them as much as we can, you know.
Having known you and your daughter I think everything's turned out fine. It's beautiful, and you got a beautiful grandson as well.
Oh,
so.
yes, absolutely. Yes, it wouldn't put it any other way. But at the time,
Probably a bit of a shock there, but it turned out okay. It turned out
At the
okay.
time, you
at the time, it was like,
You would
know,
have murdered him,
oh,
Mish. You would
God.
have murdered him.
Okay. So yes, thank you, panel. That was a good debate in terms of sexual education. Obviously, what we want to think about is us as parents mainly being involved in our children's upbringing, talking about sexual education, and we delivering the message with the help of the school. You know, we're not saying we're not against condoms, but we should be more involved in that situation, and we can guide our children, and we are there to give them the help and support that they need. So, Michelle, Barrydon, Simeon, Rosie, Mimi, thank you for joining. People, we haven't said it, and no one said it at the start. I'm going to say it now. Please do remember to like, subscribe, join the channel, comment, Jamlish, with a little bit of Labrish.
Notification.
Other people.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
They can be good, be
If
careful.
you enjoyed our show, please leave your comments. Thank you very much.
travel safe.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Till such time.
Skibble says so. Jamlish, a little real talk with a little bit of Labrish, yeah. Jamlish, them talk real talk, them not talk no foolishness, no way. Jamlish, a little Jamaican wrap up in the English, yeah. Jamlish, the real talk show with a little bit of Labrish. Skibble says so.